Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cyber Talk with Nikolay show. I hope you had a great holiday season and enjoyed your time with your families. Today, we're going to start our conversation with AI. Richard Seroter is here, and his title is Chief Evangelist. So, Richard, I'm going to turn it over to you. Maybe you can describe what it is that Chief Evangelist does at Google, because Google is a very advanced company, and they have tendency to come up with some interesting titles that sometimes it's hard to put two things together what they actually mean in the real world. So, Richard, on to you.
Yeah, it's so good to see you again. Nikolai and I worked together years ago in biotech, so it's fun to be sharing the same space together. Yeah, so look, the other person who has a chief evangelist title at Google is chief internet evangelist. He invented the internet, Vint Cerf, so I am not close to that. But what it really means is I'm one of our spokespeople, but I also lead developer relations for Google Cloud, our engineers who help developers kind of find and use the platform, as well as our technical writing team that writes all of our documentation for Google Cloud. So I have an internal job of keeping our team doing their best work, and then also an external job of talking to customers and analysts and partners and others just to keep learning about the space and explaining what we do.
That sounds exciting. So thank you for that. So Richard, as I brought you in here, so AI is a topic of today's conversations, and you wrote a few months back three pillars of a modern AI-ready platform, and it sparked my interest, and I read through it, and I had a bunch of questions, and that's the reason I contacted you, and if you would be willing to come on, and thank you for coming on. So, but before we got to it, people been talking for AI at least for 2 years plus right now. Actually, if you look back, probably the lineage of AI comes from back into 80s when people were fantasizing about someday something magical is going to happen, and it seems like we are really close to this day when a lot of magical things happens. And the basic question that I typically ask is like, how would you tell somebody, or how would somebody can recognize when AI is being introduced in a product versus how do you separate hype versus reality? Because it seems like a lot of organizations, a lot of vendors, however you call them, they pretty much put this word right there into their pamphlets and brochures and start distributing. It's like, hey, we are AI powered. And then, yeah, as a question, it's hard to understand whether it's true or not.
Yeah, I think everyone just bought new domain names and updated their websites. I'm not positive everyone updated their products. So it's tough. It's you and I've seen this with cloud, right? There was that cloud washing era where everyone was somehow serving a cloud now for whatever reason. We saw it with DevOps. We saw kind of some of these major industry trends. Oftentimes you just kind of get that added to your product. Now, what's tricky here, as you mentioned, is gosh, how do people know how to make good choices here? How do you know that you're buying something where AI is not a gimmick or it is just bolted on? So I think about some of the specifics, right? If I were interviewing vendors and they said they had an AI product, what would I ask them? I would probably ask them, what type of AI are we doing? Are we doing deep learning? Is this natural language sort of things? Are you doing computer vision? Something else? So I'd be trying to dig into like what exactly do you mean by AI first of all? I'd also ask, what is their process for how do you add or deliver or support AI features in your product, right? How mature have they made this, or was this just a weekend project by somebody and now they kind of slapped it on the product, or is it part of a very rigorous way that they introduce any feature, AI or otherwise, to their product? I would probably ask what metrics that company is using to determine the impact of those AI features. Is this improving some sort of core function of their product and therefore they can prove AI is making a difference? Are they tracking anything related to their AI feature? And then what are some of the limits of their AI product, right? How are they handling data privacy, security concerns, others? Have they thought through the whole spectrum? And you could get different answers here. You could get very, oof, I don't know answers. You could get some awesome detailed answers, which gives you confidence that they've really thought through how to use AI to make their core product better, not just how did they put AI onto their product to sell more widgets, right? And so for most, I want to see that have they taken their core job to be done, their core purpose, and made it better with AI. So, I think for most people, the same thing should apply to them, right? If you're looking at using AI yourself at your company, you're thinking about what is my value stream? How do I deliver value to customers? Where can AI make a difference there? And then you can know where you should be strategically dropping AI into your own company once you understand and kind of really analyze what are the core things we do for our customers and where would AI make it better, not just more interesting.
Thank you for that. So, while you were talking, one answer or one question I was thinking about, would it be a good question to ask is like, how is your product different between yesterday and today? Because
Yep.
yesterday you didn't have AI, today you
Right.
have AI, and what does it actually do for me? So I can recognize the difference and appreciate it.
Yeah, and that's where if you're doing something that complements your core product, let's say you have a product that does security scanning, and I say, hey, we're also going to use AI now to understand findings or to give you a human readable version of certain things. That would make sense to you if you were buying of that product. Like, all right, this is complementing that function. If it's I do A and we've added AI that does B, that's just harder to potentially connect the dots on. So absolutely, it's knowing the before and after and seeing that this materially actually makes it better.
Got it, got it. Yeah, thank you for that. So now let's jump onto your paper that you wrote, Three Pillars of a Modern AI-Ready Platform. So before your paper, I think what you've done synthesized pretty well where the direction of AI is heading, because I've seen a lot of things and being published, and people, our organizations focused on a single product. So they pick AI for imaging, they pick AI for something else, and then they try to develop. A lot of organizations use ChatGPT or any other platforms to help them write documents, but I haven't seen anyone trying to actually develop platforms. So maybe we can start conversation with that, and if you can describe this, like what would be the major difference and what the AI platform is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, and thanks for reading the paper. I need every download I can get, so thank you for that. But yeah, as you say, look, a lot of these things. The reason I think the AI stuff, for example, is not hype, is that this one started with regular users, not with vendors, right? I mean, you and I started using ChatGPT or things, ourselves, and then companies were trying to quick scramble and figure it out. That was not the same with the metaverse or edge computing or even blockchain or a bunch of stuff. So this trend feels more legit because it started with an actual use, right? People found value in it. There was use in it. And so you would imagine that for a lot of companies, they are incrementally adding it. You start with something like a chat tool. Maybe it's now baked into your Google Docs or your Office 365 or other things. And so your products are getting it added to it. You're buying some best of breed things that come out. That's super natural. But at some point, like you and I have seen, in many cases, once you hit that inflection point, though, you do want to think about some standardization at some layer, whether that's for authentication, authorization, security reasons, privacy reasons, maybe just training costs and
Mhm.
functional, all sorts of reasons. So when you start doing AI platform work, often this does impact people who are building things with AI. I don't think I would solve the AI platform the same way if I was just using SaaS products, right? I mean, there you're buying a product, you're getting a service, amazing. There may not be the same platform play there. But if you are building generative AI apps, if you are serving up models to data scientists, not building your own, maybe you are, but even if you aren't, are you serving up notebook environments, things like that? That's when you start looking at, does it make sense to have a platform? Am I surfacing up capabilities for people to build, deploy, and manage AI solutions? So at one layer, there's infrastructure, right? I need GPUs or Google's TPUs, things like that, compute capacity. How do I actually run this stuff? And then you might, if you care about tuning and training models, and I would be cautious about how many people have to do that. But if you do, then you're looking at this platform that can help you do training and tuning, storing features, doing inference, offering notebooks, ML ops for people deploying and monitoring models. Again, not everybody needs that, but you might want to have something in there for a subset of your folks. Then you get into app builders. I'm a developer. I'm a Java dev. I'm a .NET dev. I'm JavaScript. I might be using a vector database to do these patterns like retrieval augmented generation to complement a model with my own data. Maybe I'm using some of these new frameworks like LangChain to build agents, and that's cool. So I'm not an ML engineer, I'm an app developer, but I might want something at a platform layer delivered in a self-service fashion, in a secure fashion, in an on-demand fashion, sounds like cloud, but in a way that makes it easier for me to build software. And then you still may end up again with different things across those stacks. It might be federated and different departments have different layers above that platform. It might be consolidated, but you just start to think in platforms. You start to think of ways that you can consistently, through self-service, deliver capabilities to developers, to data scientists, even to end users. Usually you're doing that to try to save money, have a better security posture, or really just roll out things in a consistent way.
Got it. Got it. So, if we talk about platform, let's say, would you consider Copilot or Gemini be a AI platform, or that would be considered in just point solutions?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Using AI.
So different aspects. I mean, Google's a bit unique because we have, I guess, a bit of a vertical stack that's unique, right? Starting at TPUs, literal chips that we've used to do things like train and serve the Gemini models, up through our compute infrastructure where you can get VMs and Kubernetes clusters that have GPUs and TPUs, up to Vertex AI, which is our AI kind of model platform where I can train and serve models and things like that, up to sort of app dev experiences, and then up to kind of SaaS-like tools like our coding assistant or things like Copilot or others. So each of those has different products and pieces of the stack. I wouldn't call Copilot an AI platform any more than I would call our Gemini Code Assist a platform. I think it's a service for productivity that usually rides on top of someone's platform. Because really, again, you and I would argue, if you look at the stack, a very small set of people, very awesome people, are at the bottom of the stack doing data science work. And then you have a subset of people like platform engineers, IT admins doing the platform, serving up platforms. Then you have regular app developers building apps. And then you have everybody from your CEO to your engineers to your program managers to your support staff, all probably using AI productivity tools. That might be in Google Docs and Google Sheets, or that might be in coding tools, that might be in an agent that you use that helps you do stuff. So you're kind of serving all of those in general, but the platform really sits closer to the bottom that is serving up common capabilities to a bunch of those audiences. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I think while you were talking, another question came along. So, when you try to build all those things together and
Mm-hmm.
put them up and add them, so it's not like you stitching pieces from existing sort of like
Mm-hmm.
tools that already in environment somebody is using for AI, but you build a completely brand new platform. How would you bring all those people together to have a conversation what they actually want to get out of this AI platform? Because you probably been in development as much as I've been, so sometimes developers like to develop, and at the end of the day, they develop something that nobody wants to use. So, how
Yeah.
you kind of like, because it's a complex subject, because everyone has their own understanding what they think AI is. Like I'm from security will think one thing, and somebody from science department will think completely different about AI, and they all want to have AI. It's like they all want to have this magic bullet solving
Yeah.
something for them. So how do you get them together to say, well, here's I think the platform that will probably benefit and provide additional feature, or everyone has to build their own platform, sort of speak.
So two major things come to mind. First off, you probably need a product owner. And I think we'll probably talk more if we keep talking platforms about the idea of platforms as products. This is not an IT system. This is, to me, a product, an internal product. But you have a product mindset. You think of your stakeholders, your requirements, your success metrics. But then, really importantly, it's also a minimum viable platform, right? You absolutely should not take the diagram I included in that white paper and go deploy that whole thing. Not yet. Like you got to figure out what do you need, because you and I have also seen plenty of build it and they will come platforms and nobody came. That it was this perfect golden platform and had all these components. Maybe it was open source, maybe it was commercial, looked amazing, but it didn't really solve the need. So it just sat there or was underutilized. And so what you want to do is be fairly ruthless on what are those initial things we need. Hey, what we need right now is a Kubernetes cluster that can serve up some of our basic model-driven apps. The model's hosted elsewhere, but we just want at least a cluster that has a couple of extra things to make hosting AI apps better. Okay, there's the start of your platform. Now maybe, okay, we do need to add a vector database. We are doing more personalized apps. Let's go ahead and make sure we add that. Sounds good. Hey, now we're starting to do a little bit of data science. We're getting some confidence here. How are we going to serve up notebooks? Let's think about that. So you start to do an incrementalism, but again, still with arguably a central platform as product mindset so that you don't just have this blooming all over the org, and then it's going to be a lot harder to pull that together. So platform owner, product owner, and then minimum viable platform, and building this up incrementally, because there's a 0% chance that you can build it kind of top down, end to end, and get it right. Not when there's so much changing right now. Look at the leaderboards. There's a new, Gemini 2 is whatever, number 1 today. Who knows what's going to be on the next day? Like, leaderboards are moving, frameworks are changing, vendors are changing. Do I need to buy a specialized vector database, or should I just use Postgres? I don't know. I have my advice, but it's changing all the time. So don't make a ton of bets. To me, you bet on some fundamental platform primitives. You probably bet on some providers, but you build some agility in some of these tools. Don't build too many standards yet, because the standards aren't very static. So to me, this is a new exercise probably for a lot of companies who are used to building just awesome industrial grade tech stacks that just stand the test of time for a decade. It might get there, but I don't think you can start with that.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that. So who would be the owner of the platform? Would it be the people that came up with the idea that they need this platform to solve problems, and they start going through requirements? And I think follow up to that would be what you were describing. And back in the day, everyone was talking about MVP, minimum viable product. It's like you start development and code fast, fail fast. If it doesn't work, go somewhere else. How does it change on AI environment? Are we failing much, much faster, or are we just going at the speed that's always prone to failure, and we just have to fix all those failures on the fly, but we still have kind of like direction where we're going? So if owners kind of holding the stakes and said, okay, we head in this direction, regardless how many pieces are going to fall along the way, we're still going to build this product by the end.
Yeah, I think that goes down to, first off, what do you think you need? I don't think every company needs to be exceptional at LLMs themselves, like their own personalized model. That's a lot of work. Unless your industry demands it or your business demands it, you'd probably take a more off-the-shelf model, for example. Take Gemini, take Anthropic's models, take something amazing and maybe augment it with some of your data to make it personalized. But yeah, so I think on one hand, you have to be careful of, I don't think you need to plan for just failing fast, where you just make a bunch of choices and swap them week to week. You're probably choosing some fundamentals. Hey, we like this model family from Google, from Anthropic, from someone else. Cool. Hey, we're going to bet on Kubernetes or VMs as a stack. Cool. We like we like these sort of GPUs. Sound good. And then maybe, hey, we like these AI frameworks. We're not going to marry any of them, but they look pretty good there. But in terms of your question of owner, maybe it's going to make people mad. I don't think it's an IT systems person, because you really need a product mindset here. And if that person has it, then amazing, go that way. But you're looking, and I don't even know about your architecture team. Depends on who it is. But you need someone who really comes at this not as an engineering problem, but as a product problem. I have stakeholders. They're trying to do something. They're trying to deliver new AI-based customer service experiences. They are trying to build a new way to summarize content in our CMS to serve up legal information to our clients. Whatever the use case is, they're thinking about the stakeholders, what they're trying to build, what success looks like. And you mentioned earlier, this is probably a fairly cross-functional, multi-stakeholder thing. So they have to be pretty good at that. They have to know how to pull together a bunch of teams and build at least a light consensus on what the needs are. I don't think that's necessarily just a regular IT person, right? Or a developer, or things like that. You might even hire specially or take a program lead who shows a really, really good mindset for product thinking, deconstructing problems, right? Thinking of the customer first. Maybe you convert one of your program managers or persons like that. Maybe you actually do have product managers at your company, which would be awesome. I'm seeing more enterprises actually hire those. So I think you're doing somebody who can spend almost full-time product thinking on building this platform that doesn't have to be rickety. That's just a bunch of choices you're going to change next week. I don't think that's a good strategy, because people won't trust you. That they're able to make a few immediate platform bets, and then they're doing a real good job figuring out whether those additive pieces, hot swapping where necessary, and always looking at certain metrics to know if it worked or not.
Got it. So I was hoping you would say security is going to own platform, but you went with business, so no love there. So Richard, from your point of view, I know you've done quite extensive research in that field, and you just described, because key successes are key indicators that somebody needs to put in place. They will pretty much play a critical role in the success of the platform. So how would somebody determine what? I know business has their own needs, and they will tell like, "Hey, I want this platform to deliver certain outcomes, and I want to see those outcomes." Would it be the only success somebody needs to look at, or would be the other key success factors that maybe IT has to play a role in it? Maybe because
Yeah.
again, running AI is not cheap. There is a lot of components come to play from hardware perspective, and electricity and all other energy consumptions that company has to pay. So there's sort of like evaluation needs to be made. It's like, well, I want to spend 10,000 CPUs power or whatever it is to generate maybe fancy calculator, and that's going to be my AI platform. So
Hmm.
what would you suggest, or what would you say the critical key components or key indicators that would play a major role in designing a platform and to determine those success factors?
Yeah, I think many of them are the same if you are deploying, let's all call them, developer platforms or application platforms, period. Right? If you've embraced this idea of platform engineering, which has been around for, 8, 9, 10 years, but really has hit mainstream awareness these last 3 or 4 years. So this idea again of treating platforms as products, even forget AI, even if you're just serving up an ability to run applications, databases in a secure fashion with continuous delivery and good operations and things like that, application services on demand, that sort of mindset, when you think of platform engineering, many of those metrics are the same, even if you're doing AI platforms. So let's talk about some of those. So how do I know I have a good platform? As you mentioned, there's some of the fundamentals of what is this thing costing me? Am I being financially responsible with this? I've seen teams reporting on how many people they have supporting their platform first, right? If you have 50 people supporting a platform that serves 100 devs, I don't think you're doing it right. Like you should have like a 50-to-1, 200-to-1. Like a well-run platform could serve thousands of developers with 10 people. So first off, how economical am I being with how I serve this? Because I've bet on automation, because I'm using good stacks, because I have some highly skilled people here. So first off, there's a health and financial health, team health. How's that going? Then there's things like the application and platform health. What's your uptime? How you doing? Are you, to the security angle, are you keeping up with your patching? Are you proving that your time to resolve 0 days is measured in hours, not weeks or months or anything? So how fast can I patch infrastructure? How secure are the workloads on the stack? Can we measure, the vulnerabilities rate of the workloads running, or have we built a system where developers can very quickly pull in the latest Java version or latest app server version, quickly get that to production? So there's sort of, as we said, the platform sort of health. There's the kind of the workload health, if you will, and that's going to be measured on things like security, things like that. But then there's really is, I like when we start thinking about the business metrics. Arguably, those first two things I said, I don't know if those go up to the CEO of the company. Maybe, hey, we're really efficient with this. Hey, we're only spending so much. Hey, we have a great security posture. That's cool. I think, but these platforms also need to have some sort of business dimension. What is the goal? Are we delivering value faster? Can we prove that because people are pushing to this platform and not a bunch of self service infrastructure or opening tickets, hey, we're seeming to get value in front of our customers faster. We're closing bugs faster. We're actually entering this new business area successfully. And we can prove that because of this platform, we actually added 10% of revenue this quarter. Like even that thing, which we are not used to doing in IT, we're used to doing how's our uptime? How are we doing on cost? Are we delivering things on time? Totally understandable. But for platforms like this, really good teams are often looking at not just is this thing stable and have good uptime, not just are we keeping it safe and cost effective. They're saying we're seeing usability grow every month. We're seeing more users come to this platform, developers, right? That, hey, 80% of our developers now push to this platform. That's a good metric. Like that's showing me this thing actually landed. And hey, by the way, our uptime for customers is whatever the 3 or 4 nines that we've promised for certain workloads. That's great. We're seeing that applications are updated on average, 2 times a month. At least one of those are security related. That's good to know. So you start to also look at just the general health, and this is why you treat it like a product. You wouldn't be tracking those things if this was just platform health. I'm keeping my Exchange server running. I don't think, you tell me, I don't think most people tracking their SharePoint environment or Exchange environment are necessarily reporting that way. They're reporting, did this stay online? Maybe are we keeping the components up to date? But they're not saying, hey, we're growing mailboxes or, whatever. People love our email service. I don't think so. But when you treat platform as product, you are satisfying your stakeholder. In that case, the developers and the data scientists and the users of the platform are your customers. It's a different mind shift, but it actually changes a big part of how IT and the rest of the company work together.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for part one with AI pillars and our guest, Richard Seroter, Chief Evangelist at Google Cloud. Please stay tuned for part two.
Thanks for joining us. For more information about these topics or IS Squared, please go to www.issquaredinc.com.